All right, so what are we here to do, boys? We have farted around long enough. It is well past the time we were supposed to start, and we have much to discuss because we have to convince people to fill the Guitar Wolf shaped hole in their lives. Yes?
Yes,
Yes.
it is a film which cannot be unseen, in a good way,
I
I
was just
think.
going to say in a
But
good way.
Yes.
In a
yeah,
good
yeah.
way.
Yes. Yes. That is another film that me and Mike were exposed to via D, that bitch, and her infamous Video Room Zero.
Video Room Zero. Okay, that checks out.
Convention staple for years. But yeah, this is really the best film that came out of Video Room Zero that I was subjected to, and my personal opinion.
Yes.
I feel like this is a movie for if you watched Rock and Roll High School and you loved it, then you will love this film.
I kept comparing Wild Zero to Rock and Roll High School, and I've only seen bits and pieces of Rock and Roll High School, and this is awesome. And for what I've seen of Rock and Roll High School, the Ramones can't act, and Guitar
No.
Wolf can, or at least they're good enough for this movie.
Yep.
And
Sequel, by the way, there is a Wild Zero 2.
Well, they haven't finished.
Released it yet. Yeah, they
Yeah.
haven't finished, but
Oh,
it is
okay.
in the works. And
I
it
have-
looks even more Wild Zero-ish than the first.
Yeah, I did a little bit of digging on that one. We can get to that a little bit later. But yeah. So let's see. So Wild Zero is a film that came out in 1999, and it features the aforementioned Japanese rock band Guitar Wolf, who actually very specifically took on Ramones-like names. So you have
Yes.
Guitar Wolf, who is Guitar Wolf, Bass Wolf,
Mm-hmm.
and Drum Wolf.
Yes.
Unfortunately, the original Bass Wolf died in 2005 from a heart attack at the age of 38.
That's a drag.
Yeah, but they did manage to find a new Bass Wolf, and I mean they're still putting out tunes. So
Yes, and you can check them out on Spotify, and they're like all things Japanese. They go all the way to 11 with it. The Guitar Wolf dresses like the Ramones and plays like an unholy cocktail of Minor Threat and the Stooges, and I can't say that I'm in the mood for that all the time, but boy howdy, when I'm in the mood for it, nothing else will satisfy. It sounds like a neutron bomb going off. It's great. It's genuinely great. It makes me think of the Japanese metal band Boris, except that it's not. They're not doing the long form metal writing. It's just 3-chord rock and roll at the bleeding edge of treble. There is a bass player, but I'm not sure I've actually heard him. No offense to either Bass Wolf. All right, so how recently have you watched Wild Zero? Because I watched it 2
Not
nights
gonna
ago.
lie. Not gonna lie, been years, but I've seen it so many times and have nearly killed friends with the drinking game. So
Oh Jesus!
yeah,
Thank you for not
the drinking
introducing
game is
that
its
to
own
me
thing.
when we watched it, because I remember watching. You came over to my house, Mike, and we watched this on your because you have it on DVD. It is impossible to
Yep.
stream Wild Zero, so I was lucky to find someone who would put it on YouTube, and I am not going to name that person because I do not want them to get copyright struck. But that person, you're awesome. Thank you. So I have extensive notes for my second viewing of Wild Zero. First note is terrible CGI flying saucers, We are judging by the standard of 1999. They're still corny as fuck, but you know what? It fits. Greaser punk Westaboos, huzzah! I hope that the Japanese enjoy weeaboos as much as I enjoy Westaboos, because I enjoy them. They're wonderful. I want there to be more. This is one of those movies where if you try to get too deep into the plot, you will not enjoy it. You just kind of have to let it do its thing. There are movies that don't make sense because of incompetence, and there are movies that don't make sense because they don't give a fuck. And Wild Zero is the second kind of movie. It makes just enough sense overall, but at any particular moment, you might find yourself confused.
One has to view Wild Zero with the understanding and hope that all you really want to see is a bunch of awesome shit strung together, and it doesn't matter how tenuous that thread is.
Yes.
No, I
What would be
agree.
awesome right now? What would be awesome right now? Flames shooting out of something. What else? Zombies.
Okay, no, I was gonna say this is why I think it compares favorably to Rock and Roll High School, because Rock and Roll High School is very much that kind of film as well, where you're like, wait, what's going on?
Yeah, it's Roger Corman. It's kind of a bunch of nonsense, but this is a bunch of nonsense that explodes and is therefore better. I couldn't imagine Rock and Roll High School have an interesting plot just because it's called Rock and Roll High School. Whereas Wild Zero, what does that even mean? It is the name of a Guitar Wolf song, which is not in the movie, I don't think.
No, I don't think it is.
I'd have to double check that. I think it's from one of their later albums. I did a whole deep dive on Spotify. And I have that Guitar Wolf is the band and the guitarist, and he does not like pimps.
No.
That was just the first action that he took. They're walking down the hallway. There's a pimp who's abusing a lady of the night, and Guitar Wolf does not like it. And he says so. And he does this for his own reasons, because he is Guitar Wolf, and he does not have to explain himself.
His motivation is clearly not clean living, as we learn in the scenes that follow immediately after.
Exactly.
Guitar Wolf, you gotta understand, Guitar Wolf is the modern troubadour. He is a man of music and love.
That's true. He's very concerned about both of these things.
Music, specifically rock and roll, though, he doesn't elicit any comment upon any other music style comparatively in any way, shape, or form.
All those other styles are irrelevant to Guitar Wolf's existence.
Mm-hmm.
He also likes fire.
He does like fire.
Out of everything.
Yes. He likes fire. He doesn't like pimps. He likes rock and roll. He likes his guitar.
I picture like Bass Wolf and Drum Wolf falling around Guitar Wolf, kind of like Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. Just kind of looking at each other like, man.
Yes, I'm never exactly sure which one is Bass Wolf and which one is Drum Wolf, and it really doesn't matter, because Bass Wolf and Drum Wolf drive the car, and Guitar Wolf rides the motorcycle, and he is cool.
Yes.
Yep.
They are not hapless like Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, but, they're there. They're serving a purpose. They're just like, man, fuck it. Let's just see what Guitar Wolf does, man. This is going to be entertaining,
They are content to be the Bravos to Guitar Wolf's Alpha. That's just how that works.
Yes. They're like, we're just here for the trickle-down economics of booze and chicks at this point.
Exactly. Like, what else are you going to do? If you're bass and drums and you have an awesome lead guitarist and singer, then you follow his lead, man. That's how a band works. So my next note is, what WTF is this guy wearing? I'm referring to the character known as Captain, who I, in my notes, call Underwear Guy.
Yeah.
I believe his name is Captain Tennille. I'm not even kidding.
It might be. He is wearing these Japanese lace-up booty shorts, and he's entirely comfortable in that and that alone, and that and his bizarre page boy wigs are the essence of
Yeah.
the character. And he is gleeful and malicious and hilarious and great. They go into the room where I guess the captain is some kind of like music producer or venue owner or promoter or music sleazeball.
Mm.
And immediately, Guitar Wolf and Bass Wolf and Drum Wolf go into the room with him, and immediately they get into a Mexican standoff for no real reason. There's a gun. They draw the guns on each other. Guitar Wolf does not like Captain. I can't blame him. And they're pointing guns at each other. And at this point, we have the reintroduction of the character who's our actual protagonist, who's the guy called Ace.
Yep.
Whom we meet at the very beginning of the movie, and then he shows up and he walks into the room for reasons that are not clear.
Well, I think I was looking into this, and I was sort of reading around for various synopses, and I was like, I've seen this movie a bunch of times, so it all kind of bleeds together for me personally. But
Mm-hmm.
and I was thinking back on this, and there's a scene where, and it's kind of like the moment that sets off Guitar Wolf, because the captain is like, rock and roll is obsolete essentially, and
Oh, right, he did say that.
and Ace is like, no, rock and roll can never die, and Guitar Wolf is like, fuck yes, and that's, you know, when they shoot his like hand off or whatever, and
Yes.
or shoot off some of his fingers, because I guess, yeah, like Ace is just a big old rock and roll fan, and it's his
Mhm.
character motivation is really that simple. And it, you know, it fits in with the themes of the film. It's, you know, the film is basically about two things. One is like love, and the other is the power of rock and roll. Emphasis
Yes.
more on you know, the latter as opposed to the former. But
Yes.
yeah,
But there are many sweet love moments in this film, and
that's true.
it's all played like on the sleeve. There is, for a movie this insane, there is a total lack of irony.
Yes.
It's true. It's true. There is no moment of haha. See what we did there? Hoo hoo hee hee. Aren't we clever? No, they don't care if they're being clever. They're just. I honestly believe, and I wish I could find some kind of information on this, though I haven't really looked for it. But I bet they had fucking a kick making this film. Like, I think they just were probably gleeful during making the entirety of it. Everyone involved with it.
Oh yeah, well, and like the director, I guess, had previously, prior to this film, had mostly done music videos, and I mean, thinking about the way the film
That
is sort
makes
of cut
sense.
together, it tracks. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like a really long music video. That actually explains a lot of the strange choices that we start getting in the second act. Another thing I wanted to say is that this movie gives off mild Looney Tunes vibes. Particularly the moment
Yes.
where
Yeah.
Ace goes in and says, "Rock and roll will never die," and then he gets punched in the face, and he makes the most insane, hilarious derp face, and it just made me.
Yeah.
The Japanese don't get enough credit for being as funny as they are, and how much they enjoy being funny, and how much they enjoy being silly and making silly faces, and they're good at it.
I feel there's a lot of unintentional comedy there too. Like when the aforementioned comment about, you know, Ace and Guitar Wolf becoming blood brothers, I was Ace like, man, Guitar Wolf gets around a lot. I might need to go see a doctor now. I might have kind of some kind of weird space zombie herpes or some shit like that now. Man. I don't even know.
Yeah, that's the other thing that comes out is like we're blood brothers now because awesome. Like Ace didn't really do anything. He just kind of walked into the room and said "rock and roll" and gets punched out. But Guitar Wolf is like, no, this guy's cool. He is now my rock and roll blood brother because that is what happens. Because that's the most awesome thing I can do because I'm Guitar Wolf. And
exactly.
The other mild vibes that I get is a little bit like there's like a taste of Repo Man
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've been watching Repo Man since it's been on Netflix, and I think I saw it once a while ago, and I didn't really get it, but I've been rewatching it, and boy, howdy, that movie's fun.
It's
we
fits right in with this and Rock and Roll High School, where it's like, yeah, don't think about it too much, just watch it. Yeah.
No.
just enjoy what's happening and feast your eyes upon it. So there's all this insanity. You know, there's a Mexican standoff. Ace gets punched out. Ace becomes blood brothers. They shoot off the captain's hand, even though he's fine, and then he chases them out with a shotgun and his wounded hand. And Ace runs away, and Guitar Wolf rides off on his awesome motorcycle that is flaming, and then that scene just comes to an end, and we immediately move into one of the stranger introductory scenes that I've ever seen in a film, in which a whole bunch of characters are shown but not really introduced. Like, we're not really 100% sure who any of them are. You've got Lady Gun, right? You've got the Yakuza, who we're not really sure they're the Yakuza. We don't find that out until they're all dead. There's Tobio, the love interest, and then there's the crew that I call the fuck friends. That's Masao, Hunako, and Toshi. And I call them the fuck friends because they say fuck like every 3 seconds.
Yeah.
And they all meet up at this gas station, which is an Esso station, which is a brand that no longer exists in America, but I guess still exists in Japan. I don't know.
So this film was actually shot entirely on location in Thailand. And yeah, so like part of the reason some of the areas look extremely rural, and you don't see, like around that gas station, for example, and there's like no mountains in the distance necessarily. Yeah, that's because they shot it in Thailand.
Now that you mention it, that makes sense.
So, yeah, and also most of the zombies that you see throughout the film are actually Thai military personnel and their family. Just random fact.
Well, now I'm going to have to show this film to Suda because she's a Siamese cat. She'll be like, okay, why are you showing me this? I don't know, Ken. Just watch the film with me. Have I ever subjected my wife to Wild Zero? I feel like I have.
I feel like Amy came home while we were watching it at my house, Mike, and I feel like she saw the end, which is the best part.
It is the best part. Yeah.
You build it as the greatest thing that has ever been seen in Eastern or Western cinema, and I was
Western cinema.
What? And then it was like
I feel like
you made good on that promise.
Yeah, that ending scene is the payoff for the whole film, I feel. There's a lot of great moments, but the ending sequence is so over the top. It's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah,
it sticks with me. I can still picture it perfectly in my head, and it has been a number of years since I've seen it.
Yeah. So we're at the Esso station in Thailand/Japan, and the fuck friends are yelling at each other, and they stop. And the one who's the third wheel, which is Masao, gets tired of listening to his friends like argue at each other, the boyfriend and girlfriend, Hanako and Toshi, and he just pulls knives out and decides to rob the gas station, which as one does, except he doesn't actually, because Tobio, who's there, sees the knives and faints. And then my next note is "and fire."
Yeah.
Just for a transition to get back to the Yakuza encountering the zombies, and Ace riding on his motorcycle.
Which is not as cool as Guitar Wolf's motorcycle, but
nothing is as cool as Guitar Wolf's motorcycle. Nothing will ever be that cool. And Ace just kind of interrupts the robbery without really understanding what's going on. He just kind of walks in the room, and Masao looks at him, and he looks at Masao. He's like, "Oh, sorry there," and then the guy rushes at him, and there's kind of like "Ole," and he's out the door, and he's running to the car, and none of this makes sense, and it doesn't have to, because next moment the Yakuza are encountering the zombies in the dumbest way possible because they get out of their car.
Yeah, don't get out of the car. If you run into zombies, just don't get out of the car.
No.
Don't get out of the car. That's one of my notes. Why are you out of the car? Just drive. Just drive. I have it in two different moments. Don't get
Yeah.
out of the car, stupid, and then later just drive. There is another note that I have here. When Ace first meets Tobio and they have their conversation, he says something to her that I found strange. He tells her that her Japanese is really good.
Yeah.
The implication being that she's not Japanese?
No.
She might speak Japanese with a Thai accent, which I think does tie into the overall plot if you think about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Think of some of the several things that Thailand is infamous for.
Right.
And
yes.
It makes a lot. Yes, had I gone to the movie with this knowledge, certain surprises would have been a little better telegraphed for me.
Because I once asked on like a Reddit thread, I was just out of curiosity, I was like, can Asians tell different kinds of Asians apart by sight? Like, if you're Japanese and you see a Chinese person, can you see that person is Chinese? Is there like a look? Can you tell just by seeing? And I got mixed answers. And my wife just leaned in the room and said, nodding her head like, yes, you can absolutely tell. Like, Koreans look like Koreans and Japanese look like Japanese.
You can, I mean, yeah, no,
She's
you
mad at me
can
for
tell.
that.
You can definitely tell when you start getting to. You can tell when you get to say like Vietnamese and Cambodian and Laotian, Laotian. They're definitely there. You can definitely tell the difference. Chinese and Japanese not as easily for me.
Okay.
Okay. But the other Southeast Asian countries, a little easier to tell the nationalities apart. Like you lined them all up in a line, you could kind of tell they're from different countries.
Okay.
But yeah, I think if you're Japanese, you could definitely tell that Tobio is not Japanese. But like, we're not Japanese, so we're not really trained for that. And also, we're already taken in by the spectacle of this movie. So,
Yeah, I can't. I didn't even know that the movie was shot in Thailand until Mike told me. Now that's another penny dropped. That's another part of the mystery of Wild Zero coming to the core. It all checks out.
Yes.
There's a lot of films are shot in Thailand, just from around Asia in general, mostly because there's just not a lot of how to put this. There's not a lot of regulations in terms
of there you go.
Making a movie. We'll just leave it at that.
What he's trying to say, politely, which I will not say politely, is that in Thailand they don't really give a fuck, and there's no such thing as OSHA.
Correct.
Yes. Which, if you're a zombie filmmaker, is how you can get your movies actually made.
Not or you do it in Pittsburgh, but I mean, either way.
Guerrilla filmmaker, if you're trying to do a low-budget zombie action rock and roll movie, maybe shoot in Thailand to save money.
Many have done it. Or Pittsburgh.
What is my next name? Ace means... Ace means number one.
Yes.
He goes and explains.
I mean, yes.
Ace means number one.
Ace means that you might also possibly like Motorhead, but let's not.
I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt on that. But I did find myself thinking, your real name's Ichi, isn't it?
I mean,
possibly. Or Randy.
So then he drives away, and then the Yakuza get out of the car, and get eaten by zombies or something. It takes a really long time. Like, we're constantly cutting back to the Yakuza and the zombies, and neither of them are doing particularly well. Like, the zombies seem very incompetent, but very relentless, and they manage to, eat a bunch of people in spite of themselves.
It does take them a minute, though.
It takes them a minute, and
Well, these aren't like the
then
hyper efficient.
no,
This is not
they're
28
gonna
days
have-
later.
No.
this is not 28 days later. These are the zombies you have a fighting chance against. If you keep your
Really
head.
better than fighting chance.
Yeah, like Ace does really well. We need to give him credit for that. Once he
And Ace is
the
extraordinarily
mood.
hapless.
But there's yeah, I mean, he's the classic wet behind the ears protagonist who doesn't really know what he's doing, but he wants to be cool and he's trying, but he's new, and
He's going the distance.
but once he
he's
gets that
going the
crowbar
speed.
boy, exactly.
Oh yeah.
There's several.
I believe the Offspring wrote a song about Ace.
Hmm.
Kieran,
Oh,
could you say that again? I did not catch any of it.
I said, and the Offspring wrote a song about Ace, and it goes, and all the ladies think I'm pretty fly for a white guy.
Well done. Well done. My next note is, why are you getting off the bike to get a mop? Which is there's a lot
That's
of
a good question.
he's on the bike, just grab the girl on the bike and go, and she can get on the bike and you can ride away on your awesome motorbike, which it's an acceptable motorbike, but instead he gets off of it, picks up a mop, and starts swinging it at zombies. It's like, your heart's in the right place, kid, but dude,
you could just you could just leave. Yeah.
you could just leave.
Now, gentlemen, you're making the big cinematic mistake you do not make with this movie, which is attempt to figure out why things are not making any goddamn sense. Or
that's fair.
Even worse, pointing out, well, this makes no sense. No, it's not supposed to. Do you know why he grabs the mop? Because it's either one of two things: funny or awesome, or both.
You're right.
You gotta view it like you view a Looney Tune cartoon. Why does this coyote not just order like canned fucking Roadrunner meat off of Acme, since they sell everything, but instead like drops like the GDP of a smaller European country into trying to catch this goddamn Roadrunner? Because it's funny.
Yeah. Dude, I saw a Roadrunner when I was in Arizona over the spring. I was driving and I saw a little fucker like on the side of the road, and it was like getting up to speed, and I just had this instinct of, that Roadrunner is going to come right in front of me, isn't it? And it did. It went like zoom across the road in front of me, and I was ready for it, so I hit my brakes so I did not run over the Roadrunner.
Did you have the children with you?
Yes, it did, and that was really important
Good.
because not 10 minutes before, we had seen a rabbit suffer a gruesome fate at the cans in front of us. I saw it, and my youngest saw it, but my wife and my oldest did not see it, and my youngest was traumatized.
Aww.
Well, it's a good thing you didn't hit the Roadrunner, because then you'd have to
yeah,
your daughters that daddy had killed the Roadrunner, and
yeah,
that's just early childhood trauma you never get over.
No, man. I mean, it's bad enough Bugs Bunny ate it. We had to keep the Roadrunner safe.
Right?
True. You ever wonder who'd win in a race, Speedy Gonzales or the Roadrunner? Which was faster out of them two?
I don't know.
I'm going to give it to
question.
the Roadrunner, because the Roadrunner is constantly in motion, and Speedy Gonzales is only like, he only has like zips and zaps. Like, Speedy Gonzales is like a cheetah. He can get up to 70 miles an hour, but only for 50 feet. Whereas an ostrich can do like 50 miles an hour for a good long stretch. That's
Yeah.
my
What you're
take.
saying is the Road Runner is an endurance runner, and Speedy Gonzalez is a sprinter.
That is what I'm saying. That is what I'm saying. As I
That
knock
makes
over my
perfect
hand.
sense.
Yes,
But
it
yes,
does.
do not attempt to apply any more logic to Wild Zero than you would a Looney Tunes cartoon.
All right, then my next note is now underwear guy has Run Lola Run hair, and he is being entertained by Sailor Maki Maki.
Yeah.
She is some dwarf planet Sailor Moon, and underwear guy is completely functional. I'm calling him underwear guy. We're just doing that, even though in this scene that doesn't make sense because he's wearing pants. And
Yeah.
He rarely does.
yeah, and my next note is I am frightened by his normal pants. Like he's wearing normal pants and he's menacing.
He's a
I got
menacing
me-
character overall.
but only when he's wearing normal pants. I think the shorts really like soften him.
Hey, it takes a certain amount of self-confidence to wear freaking lime green hot pants.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, there's
especially
that.
with the lace up sides that that's insane. Like that's a look that he's committed to. So seeing him wear like normal business guy pants is like he's intimidating. I'm bothered by it. And then he gets the girl into the car and he's
Well,
like,
you can't.
"Now I'm going to show you all about business." And like, dude, is she going to be alive after this? And the next scene in the car, like, I don't see her in the car, and it was just a continuity error, and she was in the car, and then he drops her off again later. But I thought he'd like eaten her or something, or like absorbed her soul.
She's still in
or
the car.
something.
She's just bitty.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, the other option is maybe she's giving him head and we don't see it. So, like,
that's
head
logical.
exists.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense.
That's how I explain the continuity errors. What is the crudest answer to this problem? Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
That's almost my life mantra. What is the crudest answer to this problem? Oh, well, there you go.
It's also in keeping with what we know about the captain at this point in the film. So there's that.
Exactly. It makes actual.
Do you think the captain would try to get Roadhead from a zombie? Because I feel that he might, in fact, attempt to get Roadhead from a zombie if it was cute enough.
The deeper question is, does the captain at any point figure out that there actually are zombies happening? Because when he first encounters the zombies, like when he first encounters Toshi a little later
because
on...
he wouldn't care, even if he did.
He doesn't care. He's just like, okay, you get in my trunk. Tell me where... Because the zombies talk, or at least Toshi talks.
See, the captain got bit by a radioactive honey badger and gained its powers of not giving a fuck.
Yes, that is his superpower. Then the zombies show up at Gun Girl's house. I don't know what her name is.
Oh, the arms dealer?
I'm just calling her Gun Girl. Yes. Yeah. And in retrospect, she's meeting the Yakuza for a gun deal. But while it's happening, I have no idea what's going on.
Sure.
But then the zombies show up at her house.
To keep your attention, sir.
Yeah. There's not a whole lot of exposition. And it doesn't really need it. It's fine. I'm not really complaining. I'm just working through my experience. My next note is tits in a 45. That's more like it. Because they bust in on Gun Girl. They bust in on Gun Girl while she's showering, and she just starts blowing them away because she's the first effective person at dealing with the zombies. She understands. You go for the headshot.
Yep.
And their heads explode nicely.
I feel if you're some sort of criminal versed in the ways of violence, that you are going to have a gun with you in the shower.
I mean, I'm not faulting her.
I mean, I feel that is, in fact, the most logical thing in this movie.
Yes.
If you're a member of organized crime, just always be armed.
Yeah.
Only mildly concerned there are zombies. Like, well, this is perturbing.
She just wants her Hummer back, man. She just wants the zombies off her Hummer.
Only slightly less annoying than the Yakuza. only slightly. But then again, that's Wild Zero for you.